All right, good morning, and thank you so much for watching us here on the CBS 8 app. This is right now. It is May 5th. It is Tuesday. And for a lot of people, this is going to be an opportunity here to really get their kind of teeth in on the governor's race. I know that some people thought I was going to go do a little Cinco de Mayo tease there. Segue.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, segue. We've got one of probably the more prominent debates that is going to be happening for the California governor's race. That's going to be on CNN. Just last night, we had a packed City Hall as those in the arts field that work there are pushing back against some of the proposed butts here with the local budget. We've got a lot of developments happening in Iran. But this is one of those opportunities where we are going to be diving into a host of topics, breaking them down, letting you know what's happening right now, doing our best job so that you guys can have a handle of what's happening not only here in San Diego, the state of California, but then also the world at large.
Yeah. We, for those of you, maybe you're watching for the first time, maybe you've watched before, of course, we like to cover the three levels: local, state, national. So we always try to get a little bit of a blend of each of them. Today is one of our more local and state shows, which are the ones that I'm really excited about because, sometimes we cover stories that you might see on your major networks, on your on our CBS, our major stations and all that. Sometimes it's just us, and we're talking about some of the local issues, and those are the days I'm really excited about, especially when we have a big day where everyone is invested in a certain story. You mentioned it. Today is one of those days. This has been something that we've been talking about for a while now, ever since Mayor Todd Gloria announced his first draft of his budget proposal. Of course, a lot of that centered around a large deficit. And there are proposed cuts. There are proposed new sources of revenue. So far, no one has been satisfied from what we've seen, not only from this budget proposal, but from some of the revenue-raising measures that we've seen since the beginning of this year. We obviously talk about the Balboa parking is one of the major sources of controversy that we've seen in the city here in recent months. But a lot of that coming to a head tonight because, or this morning, because last night was really one of the first times that we were able to see a large group of people, give their public comments to the city council as they, digest, debate, and ultimately will be responding to this budget proposal. And a lot of the heat that we're seeing has to do with these cuts that are being proposed right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we're even seeing updated numbers here when it comes to how bad the deficit is. But more than 100 people packed San Diego City Hall just last night to let Mayor Todd Gloria know how it is that they feel about the cuts to specifically the arts. That was sort of the overwhelming pushback. Libraries as well, too. You can see them packed, making their voices heard, making their images also seen as well, too. Now, the mayor proposing those cuts to try to get to a balanced budget. At least 125 people signed up to speak. When you cover one of these type of city hall meetings, this is the one where you almost run out of space on your SD card when you're filming. News 8's Richard Allen had the unique responsibility of making sure that he covered this contentious evening.
Well, that's right. Tonight, San Diegans had their say on Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed $6.4 billion budget. It's a budget that includes a nearly $120 million budget deficit, meaning that tough choices are going to have to be made in the coming weeks as to what and who will be cut.
This is not a math problem. This is a moral test. It is a test whether the city will live up to its values.
Monday night, more than 120 San Diegans showed up and spoke out against Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year.
The mayor's proposed budget cuts the very services and programs that help our communities thrive and thus keep us safe. Libraries, parks and rec, youth services, arts and culture.
This draft budget includes $8 million in cuts to libraries and rec centers, which serve thousands of San Diego's young people.
What about the equity for access to low-cost activities for all the youth of San Diego? I encourage you all to keep asking the hard questions and cut true inefficiencies in the city budget, but don't do it on the backs of San Diego youth and the recreation opportunities that they deserve.
The proposed budget would cut roughly $12 million from arts and culture, eliminating funding for some 160 organizations citywide.
Our money reflects our values, and this budget reflects that we value policing over peace.
The mayor's proposed budget preserves funding for police and fire, homelessness services, and critical infrastructure projects. Some speakers tonight offered their own proposed revisions.
Here's mine. Take the $15 million that is being added to the police department and give it instead to mitigate cuts to libraries, parks, and the arts.
Residents of neighborhoods hard hit by the 2024 floods in southeast San Diego also spoke out for increased funding to the city's stormwater infrastructure.
And every time it rains, we get anxiety because we know the flood channels have not been updated and we know it can flood again. So everything that we've worked for to recover could be lost.
And many members of the LGBTQ community also spoke out against this proposed budget that would cut programs that directly impact them and impact San Diego Pride. One speaker going so far as to saying that if Mayor Todd Gloria plans to march in the Pride Parade this year, he should wear a t-shirt that says hypocrite. Now, another public hearing like this will be held on May 18th. The final budget is supposed to be adopted on June 9th.
June 9th, but of course, what we will likely see here, the city council will begin to start to propose their own version of the budgets. And as we heard, there is likely going to be some differentiation over some of these cuts. It sounds like the public testimony that we heard really reached at least some of the San Diego City Council members. How much will that matter? Obviously, that remains to be seen. But what we want to do now here is sort of dive into what was covered during yesterday's non-public hearing, which was done by the IBA, which is also known as the Independent Budget Analyst.
I think a good way to describe it is that, of course, the mayor is the person who proposes it. The public obviously gets the opportunity to review it, give their thoughts. The city council has the opportunity to get their hands on it, take a look, bring their thoughts forward. But so does an independent committee, which is what's referred to here in San Diego as the Independent Budget Analyst. And it is a nonpartisan entity whose job is to essentially crunch the numbers and ask, is what Mayor Todd Gloria is proposing, do the numbers check out? Is this correct? What is their opinion on it? You know, they're saying that they want to, let's say they want to cut X amount of dollars from this department. Now, does the budget that they have provide a feasible pathway to that? Is that something that is technically possible? Are there certain roadblocks going into that? So that's something that they suggest. You know, in this document, Chris, we both were taking a look at it and really trying to digest it as much as we could this morning. It's dense. It's about 300 pages going through a bit by bit, almost line item by line item, everything that you're seeing here on the budget. So bear with us, I would say. We're going to try to do as best of a summation of like what are the main things that we're going to see here based off of the independent budget analyst's interpretation of it. There's also, you mentioned June 9th is kind of that deadline before we start seeing it getting implemented until the 2027 fiscal year. We have some key dates in between now and June 9th. We'll describe that as we go on later in the show. But yeah, so that's exactly what it is. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan review, so let's get into it.
Yeah, regardless, a battle is likely brewing here between the public, the city, and the mayor's office is how I would best describe it here, because we are looking at San Diego. You're seeing ranges here, and a lot of this is sort of mathing, if you will, trying to account for what might be either a potential loss of revenue to further expenses. So you'll see in reports anywhere from $118 million to $146 million in terms of a deficit. So we're going to kind of use both those numbers. Our reporting has been closer to about $120 million. But we know that in this report, the number cited was $146 million. And that's meant to sort of be a safety number to try to like overcut so that, you know, to try to account for some service cuts and things like that. This was a proposed $6.4 billion budget here. So the fact that we could be potentially looking at, $146 to $120 million, over, that is quite a bit of money for a $6.4 billion budget.
And the exact number aside, the moral of the story is that this is a significant challenge for San Diego and the city, the mayor, the city council. It is a massive deficit. Of course, city governments can't operate on a deficit.
Yeah,
so
state of California, they have to balance the budget.
So they are forced to make these key decisions. San Diego is in a significant position where it is a much larger gap, a much larger deficit than you may see in some other cities right now. We're getting into you kind of mentioned it, the real nitty gritty technicalities of it. The overall challenge and the overall mission that we're seeing our city government face remains the same.
The best way to put it is a more than $120 million deficit.
Exactly.
Right? There is a big hole in this budget. And one of the things that I definitely heard last year as well, too, because I can bring this up last year because I was at the meeting when the mayor announced the budget deficit and went into what some of the cuts were going to be. I haven't done any firsthand reporting on the budget so far this year, but I have obviously absorbed some of that reporting, and you're hearing the same things. Priorities: police, fire, road repair, and homeless services, that they wanted to go ahead and prioritize those and protect those. What a lot of advocates, city public members of the public in the city, as well as others, are insinuating that maybe not everything is actually being protected. So we're going to jump into what the IBA put out in terms of a report, and also, again, what we are seeing listed as potential cuts here in this budget. So we'll start with why the deficit has happened. Well, there has been a lot of money that's been spent compared to how much the money takes in. Think about your own household budget. If you have a couple negative months in a row, all of a sudden you will start realizing, oh my God, we're using our credit card more. This is unsustainable. How did we get here? That's what happened to the city. Rising pension costs, that's been a huge thing. A lot of people these days don't realize that, yes, there are pensions that are still going out, and a lot of them are for municipal government employees, many of whom are now retiring. Those pensions get paid out. Whether there's cost of living adjustments and so forth, all of those things sort of rack up the bill when it comes to the pension. There's also been a slower growth in hotel taxes, sales tax, franchise fees. Prior to last year's deficit, they sort of knew that this was going to happen, and there was a sales tax on the ballot. And voters, remember, this was also probably poor timing. This is on the ballot with the presidential election, in which affordability was the number one issue that we heard in exit polls. With San Diego, the city of San Diego shot down that measure, which would have generated additional revenue for the city. I still think maybe cuts would have had to been made, but it would have been guaranteed revenue versus, like, for instance, the parking, where this is all being done on estimates and so forth. So that was a huge loss. And we know that the mayor was really relying upon that to try to have a bit of a fix here, to stop the bleeding, to stop the flood in terms of the deficit. That obviously did not go into effect. They did not propose something similar going into this year. And now we're really looking at, obviously, the cuts. There's obviously inflation. They get hit by that too. City has vehicles, right? They are paying for gas. They're trying to go electric, but they also have a number of leases. They have buildings that they own that are going unleased that they could be making revenue on.
Oh, another big thing too that is a more recent issue, but of course, this is a year-by-year thing. So this is one of the facing challenges is uncertainty in terms of what kind of state assistance are we going to get for certain programs, what kind of assistance are we going to get from the federal government. Anyone who has watched a California governor debate, or if you've been to, not even just here in San Diego, whether it's the county, whether it's any other county in California, one of the big things that we hear about is these dramatic cuts in federal funding. Of course, some of that might have to do with food stamps. Some of that might have to do with Medi-Cal, some of the federal, the healthcare assistance that we do get here. That plays a major role as well, because you start having to make those decisions of, okay, what kind of services do we as the city need to absorb? What can we provide in the place of cuts from federal funding? What stuff do we have to sacrifice? There's another litany of key decisions that you're going to have to see here.
Yeah, and there are various city departments that apply for a number of grants as part of the budget making process at the federal level. And look, I know it seems like eons ago, but DOGE really did cut a number of these types of federal grant programs for cities. And in particular, we know that cities in California were in particular targeted in large part because of political differences when it comes to a variety of different topics. And so we know that the mayor has lamented about that as well, too. So as for what's being cut now, we just hit the revenue at length there. We talked about the issues in terms of the cost. Things are more expensive. There are rising costs. So now you need to cut what it is that you can control. So think about this for you at home. I'm going to put a pause on my Netflix membership. I am not going to go out to eat as much. Those type of cuts, the city is looking at that. But the problem is we're not talking about going out to eat at a restaurant. We're talking about whether or not libraries are going to stay open. We're talking about whether or not arts grants are going
Whether people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, whether there are layoffs that are happening. And I think sometimes people, especially when it comes to city employees, have a hard time sort of putting a face. These are our neighbors. These are our people who have been working at the city either just recently, for years, and so forth, that, yeah, they are likely going to be looking at some pink slips. So let's start with libraries. We know that there's been a lot of attention paid to them. $2.6 million projected to be cut, 23 positions eliminated, reduced hours across branches around the city, an additional $1.2 million cut to youth, family, and equity programs, 4 more positions, another $1 million saved by temporarily closing branches during renovations. But we know that some renovations are even being deferred. So that'll be interesting to see how they balance that out. And then another $1 million cut to the city's library donation matching fund program, which could hurt other organizations as well too that rely on sometimes grants, donations, and so forth like that.
Yeah, and the same goes for some of the recreation centers that you're seeing. You're seeing about around $5.5 million in cuts there, about 50 positions being eliminated, reduced operating hours. You're seeing libraries and rec centers be bunched together in a lot of the reporting that you'll see not only on our station, on our website, on our feeds, but elsewhere in San Diego. So when you see an $8 million number, that's usually being libraries and rec centers being cut together, or at least just in the easiest way to kind of surmise that when you're reading our reporting. So just keep that in mind. One of the bigger ones though that we're going to see is parks. Parks are expected to get a large cut, mainly in the realm of staffing. We are looking at a potential, of course, everything is potential right now. We've already heard the city council vowed to fight or look for alternatives to some of the cuts being proposed. So this is just the latest iteration. We want to make sure that's very clear. If you are someone who works in the parks department and you're listening to that, we don't want to raise alarm bells. This is what's being proposed. There's a debate going on. You're going to want to know this stuff. The parks though, that is the largest proposed reduction in staffing of any city department. Of course, we're also looking at cuts to park maintenance, restroom closures at city parks, about $1 million here, $1 million there, large cuts to parks. And of course, the big one, as you mentioned, is going to be arts and it's going to be culture. That is the one that is generating perhaps the biggest pushback on the public soon, as you just saw Richard Allen report there. And that's the one that you are seeing city council members understand that this is something that is generating a lot of pushback, and now they're already vowing to try to find alternatives here.
Yeah, we had Shannon Handy who kind of detailed again the plight of the arts community and how it is that they feel that the arts help bring in tourists, that this is not something that has a sort of zero sum production in terms of the city's benefit to this, that this is an investment that is made, that people come to San Diego, they spend money, tourism taxes, hotel taxes, sales taxes,
something that's already been slowing down.
And so do you risk further alienating those tourists by not providing the arts, something to sort of to attract them, the Rady Shell, so forth. So again, not just sort of this like zero sum relationship where this is $12 million that does not see any sort of like reward on investment. At least, again, that's the argument the arts community is making. But homelessness, we heard that being one of the top priorities, but then we're also seeing cuts that are made. So while those are being prioritized, I would venture to say that what they are saying is that more could be cut, but we're trying to do our best to not cut as much. Whereas in previous years, it was like, we don't want to touch this at all. This is our priority. We are not going to. But we look at the numbers, homeless outreach, homeless programs, these are being touched. Homelessness, there's about $4.9 million in cuts. The Neil Goodday Center downtown is being closed.
That's something we discussed yesterday.
That's something that we discussed yesterday. That's going to save the city less than $1 million. Now, council must choose from 3 options to find an additional $3.8 million in cuts. And they've given these choices: shelter beds, safe sleeping sites, or eviction prevention services. Downtown public restrooms are going to be cut. We know that has been a story that has been brewing, if you will, for quite some time, especially along the Embarcadero. There have been a number of bathrooms that have fallen in sort of disrepair as they have been used frequently by some of the chronically unhoused. There's been an issue raised about that, about the state of disrepair that they are in, and whether or not that's the city sort of like, using that as a tactic to try to keep people from using it because, hey, look, it's in so bad disrepair and so forth. But again, imagine you're walking through the Embarcadero, you use the outdoor spaces and you have less bathrooms to use. That is going to be something that impacts people with everyday life. Transportation, we know bike lanes have been a huge criticism of the city.
We've had we've had Alex Lai come in doing a sort of update, a check-in about multiple of these bike lanes. North Park is obviously a huge one. They have an apparatus there, a sign that counts how many people are using the bike lanes. That's likely to go away if this as-is proposal was to be put through right now.
Yeah, so their multi-model team that would go around installing and maintaining and so forth, about $2.6 million going to be saved by potentially eliminating 14 positions here. Again, these are all proposals right now, so we do want to keep making sure that we say that. Fire rescue, this has been a point of contention in terms of what is going to be happening. We know that there are staffing cuts proposed with them, the bomb squad, 6 positions potentially being eliminated, additional $1.2 million in general staffing reductions, about 4 positions there. Police, a hiring freeze on certain positions, no layoffs yet. City departments, we know that middle management has been told that they are likely going to be seeing a number of different cuts. The Office of Child and Youth Success eliminated entirely potentially. 3 city departments merged into others. You're seeing the city operate like a corporation going through what they would call corporate restructuring, right? They are making a lot of these moves. This one is likely going to be fought tooth and nail. Each city council member gets $100,000 just to use at their discretion to sort of community events in their district and so forth. That's been proposed to be eliminated. I have to think the council is going to fight tooth and nail to prevent something like this happening because that's a point of pride. I mean, whether or not that's important, we can have a debate about that all day, but that is an important piece of being a city council member is being able to use that money at your discretion to highlight your individual district in your community. Think about the OB chili cook-off, right?
Yeah, that's one of the ones that we were hearing about.
Like specific events that might receive a portion of that $100,000 that with city council member Jen Campbell's district representing there. So their management, middle management, we go into it. I feel like we can keep going here.
I want to get to the reaction.
Overload. I want to get to the reaction if we can, Jack.
Yeah. Well, let's do this because I'll talk about management really quick. How about we take a quick break?
We'll
come back. We'll talk more about reactions, next steps, that sort of thing. I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people have talked about, and you're seeing this, and we'll go in a little bit more detail when we talk about the reactions, but is bureaucratic bloat. That was something that was mentioned in this budget hearing in terms of overall management. What are the proposed cuts to management? About 48 management level positions cut. We just explained to you a bunch of different cuts, across a bunch of different departments, not necessarily in the middle management sphere though, on a little bit of a higher level. We're looking at around 40 to 50 positions being cut at this moment. This is what's being proposed. And this comes as we have seen these ranks grow and grow and grow exponentially. The report says that from 2011 till now, the amount of management ranking employees grew from 70 to around 400. I think the exact number is about either 391 or 398. So you're looking at an over 500% increase in staffing at that point. I think it's around 400. So, that's some of the bloat that they're trying to take as well. So these are all cuts that were fiercely debated at last night's meeting, as Richard talked about, but we'll go back and we'll kind of rehash some of those main reactions. We'll discuss that, some next steps. But first, Chris, let's take a quick 2-minute break and we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back here into the Right Now studios. We obviously have been covering the city council debacle of the budget and how it is that they are attempting to piece this together to kind of make it work, but then also sort of satisfy maybe what have been some pretty strong reactions from the community. Though we have heard Mayor Gloria say in several interviews that this is likely there are still going to be people who are upset because these are cuts that need to be made.
There's going to be winners and losers in this process, and people are going to be left unhappy. People have been left unhappy. We've seen it time and time again with a lot of these proposals dating back to last year. We mentioned revenue raising services have also been a major point of contention here in the city, and a lot of the ways in which the city has attempted to raise some of these revenues and kind of try to close this gap at least a little bit has been met with fierce pushback. We mentioned the Balboa parking, downtown parking, special event parking. A lot of the reporting we're doing is talking to businesses who are, working downtown, employees who are paying for parking to work their shifts downtown. We look at Balboa. One of the things that we've been talking about is attendance at those parks. That's been something that we have been seeing some alarm bells go off on. So you're seeing pushback a lot of ways. So tough decisions are going to have to be made here. So we saw more of that reaction yesterday. We mentioned this. We heard Alan talk about this. Over 120 residents spoke at City Hall last night. Some of the biggest communities that we saw there making some of the harshest criticisms of this proposal, and Mayor Todd Gloria himself, were youth programs, the arts community, the LGBTQ plus community, some major players in the homelessness in recovery community. We mentioned Father Joe's Village, CEO. He's urging the mayor to reconsider those the Neil Good Day Center funding, library foundation. The CEO warned that cuts are disproportionately harming young people and lower income communities. Of course, we've already seen those library hours be cut last year. That was something that you were talking about to me this morning off camera, Chris, was, you and your daughter used to go to the library on Mondays, and now you're not anymore. Some of those cuts might be coming further.
Yeah. It really is, again, one of those things where, like, you might hear this and think it's anecdotal and it will not have an impact on you. But again, I remember the first time we went to the zoo and we had to quickly fill out paperwork or like online forms to, hey, no, we're members, like we don't want to like pay for parking here, right? Like, but to also see all of the different changes that have occurred, these will have real impacts on your day-to-day life, no matter what part of town it is that you live in. Now, firefighters, that could potentially be, again, one of those things where you may not think it's a big deal now, but it's not until the worst moment of many people's lives that they have to call fire. Now, they have, their union has called any fire department cuts unacceptable, quote, zero margin for error. We know that Vision Zero Coalition, we have actually heard from them when talking about sort of cyclist safety here in town. Alex Lies worked with them, said eliminating the bike lane team endangers public safety progress that has been made. Council President Joe LaCava, we've talked about the signaling for some of these cuts being reversed in their proposals. Yeah, he has signaled at least a reversal on the arts cuts. So we'll have to see exactly.
Of course, pushback.
Yeah.
Feasibility is a separate question. But, pushback is easy. What are we going to see after that is going to be one of the challenges. What does that actually look like? And then what kind of line item vetoes are potentially instituted? There's a whole process here. So now there were red flags that were raised by the independent budget analysts. Three major cuts: libraries, rec centers, and homelessness. That were proposed as dollar targets with no specific implementation plan. So the details are still sort of in the works, right? Like that was a red flag. And they did say that while the budget's balanced on paper, still remains structurally imbalanced because it relies on skipping contributions to emergency reserves. So kind of think about that as, well, I'm going to put more money in my pocket by not contributing to like my 401k or
my
rainy
day fund, right?
Yeah.
So the city is sitting on a $7.8 billion infrastructure backlog. Those are deferred maintenance projects. Think about all those potholes that you drive on, so forth.
And that's something, as we kind of mentioned earlier, that is something that every department is pretty much facing in some way, shape, or form. One of the things we've been talking about.
Buildings, so forth, city,
maintenance facility.
Reserve funds are below target levels already, and the city was issuing short-term borrowing notes to cover cash flow. So they're taking on debt. If reserves had been fully funded, the real deficit would have been $227 million.
So you're talking about let's just say the lower end estimate of $120 million,
Right.
that being the deficit. Fully funded reserves, you're looking at $100 million ish a year. So you're already seeing in this budget how much is being sacrificed in these reserve
just
funds.
to even have the $120 million budget deficit. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not a good financial situation. Now we have some key dates ahead here because, as we said, this is a process. This is going to be a lengthy one. It will feel lengthy, even though again, we're looking at the summertime for this to be approved. May 13th, Mayor's going to release a revised budget with some of the revisions that he's heard about. Then we have another public hearing less than a week later. So that's going to be the following 5 days after that. That'll be a city council meeting, public hearing, May 18th. Put that down on your calendar. May 20th, then council members submit their own individual budget priorities. This is where we saw things get a little heated last year in terms of where they wanted to see some of the changes compared to what the mayor said. Then on June 2nd, the budget analyst releases a final recommendations report. June 5th, Budget Review Committee, final hearing. June 9th, City Council votes on the final budget. So that's sort of the process. And again, it's just kind of looking like one of those things where all of these dates are going to be very key, very important for coverage.
And every community who's at risk of funding cuts, which in this case, if you're facing such a large deficit, is every department. It seems like one of the strategies that they're trying to take here is if everyone gets cut, everyone gets to feel it a little bit. So it's a little bit more fair. Of course, we are seeing some have a much larger amount of cuts than others. Of course, public safety is the one that this budget aims to protect the most. But when we were talking about the reactions, people who are representative of every group, every commission, every committee, they're framing these cuts as if that there is going to be long-standing damage. Whether that's the case or not is something that, of course, is yet to be seen. We hope, obviously, that is not the case because no one wants to see the worst-case scenario happen. But you're saying that everyone is advocating tooth and nail for their funding to be reserved. You mentioned library services. They said that is going to be a net negative for young people in lower income communities. Firefighters said that there's already zero margin for error. Funding is not going to be able to, a cut of funding is going to hinder their ability to make some of these life-saving decisions. We heard about the Vision Zero Coalition, as you said, bike lanes. They say that is something that is necessary for public safety here in San Diego. So it's going to be a balancing act. No one is going to be able to get everything they want in this case, because I think the moral of the story is that people have been getting more than what they needed in terms of just general funding and spending and all that. But now is the time to make cuts. So this is going to be a heated debate, and I think everyone is understanding what they're getting themselves into here in the next month or so.
Yeah. All right. So one of the ways that sometimes we will see these deficits, even like with programs, cuts and so forth, get picked up is that other municipalities, for instance, the county, think of them as almost like second to the state, right? They are encompassing of all of the cities here. They could potentially, and they have in the past, put out some money to try to help save certain cities. Will they do that this time? That pitch is being made. Our Tori Apodaca is going to break that down from a report that was filed earlier today. We'll get to that in a little bit. But